Hello, BookTube. I saw a video yesterday on the channel of Randy Ray, the literate Texan, and I wanted to make a response video, and I hope you all do too, because this is the heart of what we do here. He made a video talking about 15 must-watch booktubers that are in his subscription feed. He subscribes, like I do, to lots and lots of booktubers. You do that partly as a gesture of goodwill. It's nice. People like to see their subscriber count go up. They like to feel that they're not howling into the void, and also for the legitimate reason of subscribing, that you don't want to miss something. You've watched a video and parts of it have interested you, so you want to make sure you see what this person does from now on. I do the same thing. I subscribe to hundreds of booktube channels, and Randy Ray's video was the must-watch booktubers, the ones that when he sees a new video in his subscription feed, he must watch it. And I wanted to make, he gave 15, I'll leave a link to his video. He gave 15 booktubers. I was honored to be on that list myself. And also, there were some people on that list I'd never heard of, and one person that I disagreed with. And I want to go at it with fresh eyes now, because that's the magic of BookTube, right? Is that we get to know each other personally. And I know that if Randy is finding worth in a channel that I myself have dismissed as worthless, I should give it another look. So I will. And I wanted to do the same thing. I could easily have done this for 500 channels, but I want to do the same thing here, and I urge you to do it as well. So I'm going to do my list of 15 must-watch booktubers. But I want to point out first here why somebody would be a must-watch. Now, the difference between me and maybe other people is that I actually watch everything from everybody I subscribe to. Sooner or later, usually the day it goes up, but sooner or later I do. The one failing I have as a watcher, an avid watcher of BookTube, is that I don't leave comments. I know that people love that, and I don't usually do it. Even when I have something to think about the video, I usually just make a video in response to it instead of leaving a comment. That's not good, especially if you have a small channel and you are kind of wondering if you're howling into the void. You're going to want comments. Now, in my own defense, partially, the reason that I don't do that is because I can never be completely sure if my presence in the comments field is welcome by the booktuber. I can be completely sure of that if the booktuber is a friend of mine. If I sound off and tease Randy in his own comments field, he's going to be happy to see that. And I know that, so I don't have to worry about it. But as I was mentioning the other day, I don't know that about the vast amount of people that I watch. A lot of the people that I watch, maybe not the vast amount, but a lot of people that I watch regularly, that I subscribe to and watch regularly, I know for a fact don't like me. Doesn't matter to me. They make great videos. So we're going to go through my list and see what we have. Now, like I said, I should clarify why you do this. Someone might be a must-watch YouTube channel for me, clarifying that I watch everything, but I know what you mean. You prioritize. Because they show me new books, things that I would never think of on my own, that I would never encounter on my own. Or I might like their recommendations. Maybe they are so passionate about a book that even if I think I know it, they'll change my mind. That happens all the time on BookTube, and I love it. I've come to treasure it. And then the third one, which is maybe they are just chatting with me. So maybe that's a kind of BookTube vibe. That's a kind of approach that you can do, is to just turn the camera on and talk. And I love that. That's my favorite kind of booktube, of course. That's the kind I do. So it can be any one of those reasons. But let's go through my 15. I won't make this long, because I'm bombarding you with videos again today. So I'll try not to make this long. So my number one, these aren't in any order, is Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading. One of the kindest booktubers out there, who just does that. She turns on the camera and just talks about what she's reading and what she thinks of it. Lately, she gave us a little tour of a tiny teacup melodrama at her used bookstore. It's wonderful. That's the kind of thing. She brings in little bits and pieces of her life, and I just love it. It's always just a big, just a big comfortable release to watch one of her videos. And then number two is Mike at Fit to Be Read. Whose his channel name derives from the fact that he's a fitness instructor, a professional fitness instructor. Got muscles coming out of his ears. That's striated muscles he hasn't even used yet. But he's a big science fiction fan. And he takes the opposite approach to Kelly. But I am not so doctrinaire that I'm going to hate him for that. It's impossible to hate him. If you watch this video, it's impossible. He concentrates on science fiction, but he takes the opposite approach. His videos are carefully done productions. And you're going to find that crops up throughout this list. That does not alienate me. Not if the person's genuine. And Mike is as genuine as the day is long. And oh my God, some of the productions that he has done on his channel, all of his list or survey videos, are incredible to watch. especially if you're a science fiction fan, and especially if you don't agree with him. So he had to be on this list. Then number 3 would be Daniel at Guilty Feet, who takes a different approach. It is very much just him talking to the camera, rapid fire. He's a fast talker. He's also a very soft talker. I get the impression that most of his videos are made late at night when he's surrounded by people he cannot afford to wake up by accident. But either way, there are a couple of people on this channel whose videos essentially don't have any audio. Daniel's videos essentially don't have any audio, but they are fascinating because he is taking you through what amounts to an annotated guide of what his reading is like, how it's morphing, what he's getting, what he thinks about it, how it's entangled with all the other stuff that he's got over the years. And it's fascinating. That kind of thing, if you can get that from another reader, that's fascinating. Let's see here. Oh, okay. Right after him on number 4, I linked another channel that has no audio, and maybe that was the going on in the back of my mind. Aaron Facer is a wonderful, empathetic channel, a soft-spoken, milky-eyed Keatsian figure who sits in front of the camera, and again, does what Daniel does, talks to you about the outline of the constantly shifting terrain of his reading. Now, you can't hear anything that he says, but it doesn't matter because he's holding up these gorgeous editions of books, and every once in a while a snippet of dialogue gets through, and it's fascinating. Just wonderful, because it's the essence of what we do. It's one essence of what can be done on BookTube is you're just talking to friends about your books. Friends you're never going to meet. Well, if I have my way, if I have my say about it, I'm going to meet everybody on this list. Almost. Friends you're never going to meet, but it's the next best thing. It's the closest thing you're going to get is that you're going to just turn on the camera and unaffectedly, without a script, talk to them about what you're reading. Half the people on this list do that, and Aaron does a great job of it. Then number 5 is James Holder. He also does the same thing. If we're talking technical terms, which of course is the least important thing here, I mentioned that Daniel and Aaron don't have any audio in their videos. I've never heard what either one of them ever said. If that's the case, then James Holder's audio is just fine, but he films on what the tech dudes refer to as a potato. His camera quality is a little on the Kerry Lake filter side, but it doesn't matter. Because he also is not only taking you through the constantly shifting terrain of his reading, but also James regularly brings up bookish things. I need more bookcases, or this is what bothers me about Goodreads at this moment, or something like that. Fascinating things that if you were around him in person, those would be your book conversations. That's exactly what it feels like. Just wonderfully done. Then number 6 is Dee Dee at Brown Girl Reading. This is one of my oldest BookTube subscriptions. I've been for years and years and years. And she falls under the heading of one of the things I mentioned at the beginning as to why someone would be a must-watch booktuber, which is that not only does she find lots of books that I don't think I would ever read on my own, but then she goes through these passionate, brilliant read-throughs of what the books mean, what's going on in them. So she's not so much a booktuber who will sit down in front of the camera and say, these are the 5 things that are annoying me right now, and I've got a crick in my back, and the kid's driving me crazy, whatever. She's not the kind of one who will mostly do that. She's mostly wholly reacting to books in great detail. Oh my God, I've lost track of how many recommendations I've got from her channel. Not only the first kind, where I never even knew about the book, but also the second kind, where I do know about the book, and I have opinions about it. But if you're listening to a reader who's that committed and that intelligent about a book, and that you don't like, and it doesn't cause you to question your dislike, then you're doing it wrong. So I've lost track of how many times that's happened. Then number 7 is the Brothers Gwynne, Ed and William. They are the sons of John Gwynne, the fantasy author, whose novels I have quite liked. And the Brothers Gwynne set up a BookTube channel of their own. William also has a channel of his own, where they just talk about the books that they're reading. And it's fascinating. Watching the interplay between the two brothers. Of course, I was worried when William set up his own channel. I was worried that meant the end of the Brothers Gwynne, because the byplay between them is wonderful to watch. But no, they keep making videos just in both places. And it's fun because of their completely different approaches to being on camera. Ed is just sort of sitting there and responding and analyzing what he's reading. But William has very much the BBC presenter air about him, where he's going to smooth out the rough edges and cross over the transitions really nicely and adroitly. And he's very good at it, as far as I'm concerned. If he doesn't have a career as a fantasy writer, the BBC ought to snap him up. Again, they read mostly fantasy, but they delve in other things too. Some of those delvings are contrary to Steve's instructions. They both like Cormac McCarthy, when I have told them a number of times that they are not allowed to. They do it anyway. I should never have given you people free will. It was a big mistake. But it doesn't matter, because they do it so engagingly that I'm on board. Then the next one, number 8, you're going to need to sit down. Because number 8 on my list of 15 must-watch booktubers is Jack Edwards, the Demon Smurf, my nemesis. And this does not mean that I'm going to give you a NordVPN in-video ad in the next 5 minutes. No, it doesn't. And I don't retract any of the things. I've criticized Jack Edwards many times as someone who, I think, I'm trying to be diplomatic here, I think might be a little bit fake. Just a little bit. I have asked you many times over the years, when you watch a Jack Edwards video, or 10 of them, where he is hauling 15 books, hauling 20 books, talking about all the the back covers of these books and where he learned about them on TikTok or wherever. I have asked you many times, okay, you've watched those videos, and he's very engaging on screen. He's very, very cute. You watch those videos. Now my question is, can you actually picture him reading a book? That's all, just as simple as that. Can you picture him reading a book in silence for long periods of time without scrolling on his phone? I cannot picture that. I have a pretty good imagination, and I can't picture that. So you might wonder what he's doing on this list. Well, I watch him anyway. Now, I would watch him anyway, and he would be a must-watch booktuber, not only because I watch everything by everybody I subscribe to, but also because he's a massive figure. He's millions of subscribers, for Pete's sake. He is certainly going to carve out a career in the literary world based on his performance on social media. That's no small thing. You have to pay attention to that. Like I've mentioned about Jack Edwards in the past, it's almost inevitable he's going to be on a Booker Prize judging committee at some point in the not-too-distant future. So I want to know. I also want to know what catches his eye, because I now know that the publishers in the UK want to know that. They want to know what catches his eye. And also more and more publishers in the US. In the UK, I sort of have to guess. In the US, the publishers and the publicists are friends of mine. So I don't have to guess that they're saying 1 million subscribers, 2 million subscribers. So if he holds this book up, just holds it up, that's what? 500 sales? 1,000 sales? That's no small thing. You command numbers like that, you pay attention. That's not the only reason. The other reason is because I honestly think the more I pay attention to him, the slightly more genuine he gets. I don't know, maybe the turning point was that he did an amazing couple of videos where he finally broke down. He got sick of seeing stacks and stacks and stacks of disorganized books everywhere where he lives. So he finally broke down and just got bookcases. And of course, he's no more mechanically inclined than I am, I think. So he did a video about him trying to put the things together, and it was almost as much of a disaster it would be if I did it. And then he did. He had this beautiful space, this little corner of a room. He wanted to line it with floor-to-ceiling bookcases. And he did, over the course of those videos. And while that was going on, and especially when it was over, he enthused about finally having a library of his own. And I do not believe that enthusiasm was false. And that's just a door open, right? If I've been criticizing somebody for being fake for years, and they show me a moment where even my most invidious instincts cannot say that's fake, where I look at it and say, that smile is completely genuine. Well, that's a door open. And that's what happened. And that's how I became, as I told one of you via email, that's how I became a Jack Edwards stan. He's on this list. He earned his place. Then booktuber number 9 is Hannah at Hannah's Books, who's... there are a few people on this list who have been here or where we've met in person, but that doesn't matter. I loved her channel first before then, made myself ubiquitous in her comments field. As a deep, sensitive, thoughtful reader. A deep, sensitive, nuanced, soft-spoken, much like this channel. The friendship that has grown up between me and Hannah is a bit of a mystery. It isn't an unprecedented mystery in my life. My best human friend is a perfect example of that. But nevertheless, I never listen to her talk about literature without learning something. And I think a lot of you feel the same way. And also, she represents the human side of BookTube in a way that some of these channels admittedly don't. They don't want to. I'm not faulting them for that. They just don't want to. She decided to share with BookTube the tragedy that she went through this summer of her husband finally losing his battle with glioblastoma that had been in abeyance for so long that it had actually irrationally raised some hopes. And that those hopes were good for a long time. That's wonderful. That was a blessing. But they ended, and she took you through that. She took us all through that, and then left BookTube for a while, to recover. And I'm convinced we'll come back stronger than ever. I think she likes the community aspect as much as I do. So I'm definitely including her, even though there haven't been quite as many videos as I would like. That's true for everybody. I could stand 5 videos a day from all of these people. Okay, then number 10 is also the same thing. Someone who does make occasional BookTube videos, so I do get to include him, and that is Mark at Richardson Reads, who I first encountered in the way that I suppose a lot of you did. He did an epic library tour on his channel to start things off. He has an epic library. In my opinion, I haven't been to everybody's house, but I would guess that he has more books and a more incredible, impressive collection of print and paper books than anyone currently on BookTube. And if you haven't seen that library tour, you should all go and see it, because it lasts for many videos, but it is amazing. And when I was watching that library tour and leaving the occasional, oh my God, I wish I had that comment, I was never crossing my mind in a million years that I would ever be in that old farmhouse. And yet, we got to talking with each other, got to friendly with each other through social media. It is not all poison. And eventually one day he just said, I remember exactly where I was sitting when he said it. He said, well, why don't you come to visit? And I said, I gave him the usual falderall that dog people will understand, but no one else. I said, I can't leave Frida. I wouldn't be happy. Even if I could find care for her, she's the only thing I'd be thinking about. And he said, bring her along. Bring her up here. We're okay with her. And I did. Many, many times, both in that old farmhouse and in the new house in Vermont, which is not new in any sense of the word. Only Mark Richardson could go from a 200-year-old house to a 250-year-old house. So, again, there's a personal element here, but I'm firmly convinced that I can still assess how good his channel is. It is him, someone just sitting down and talking about books. What he thinks about them, what he's had connected with them in the past, wonderful. Just wonderful. Wish there were more videos, but in Mark's case, it's not tragedy. Especially not, his wife Deb is not a source of tragedy the way my Deb is. His Deb is wonderful, charismatic. I have an older model that no longer gets factory updates. But in his case, it's not tragedy. It's just that he's a really busy guy. Important in his little town. Important in all of the realms that he occupies. Far more important than he will ever give you an impression on camera. Far more important than he'll admit face to face. But nevertheless, I can read the tea leaves. It's amazing. Having been there to see his life, it's amazing to me that he can make videos at all. Which is a point that I've made about a lot of booktubers. We ought to be grateful that we get their company at all, considering how busy they are in the real world. So, Mark definitely counts. Then, number 11, Sarah, the Bookish Knitter. My sister from another mister who does BookTube exactly like what I'm talking about. Just talks to you. You know her. She knows you. She welcomes new people. But it's all very informal. She is the romance queen of BookTube, especially category romances, Harlequin romances, but she reads a lot more than that. And I did have the pleasure of meeting her in person. It was only briefly not a pleasure, because you know that impression that you have that Canadians are really soft-spoken and polite? Well, don't be a passenger when you're on the highway with Sarah if you want to maintain that illusion. There are fellow drivers on that highway that even after all these years still haven't recovered. But we went book shopping for romances, and she came over to Hyde Cottage, and that was wonderful. But her channel is must viewing anyway. Oh my God, I eat it up. The only thing that I wish for when I watch her channel is that we could do more stuff together. It's tough to negotiate schedules because she has a job that is real, commitments that are real. She has a husband and a whole bunch of cats, for God's sake. I hope to do more of it. That would be great. And I know that those of you who know both our channels really like it when we do that too. So, but still, whether you think you're interested in romance or not, you should watch her channel just to visit with her, because you're going to be glad you did. And I think there are a lot of you out there that can attest to the fact that even if you don't like romances now, she might convince you. So she had to be on this list. Then number 12 is Gina at Gina Stanyer Books. A very similar feeling to Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading. Very similar in the sense of, it is so pleasant to spend time with Gina. She is reads mostly wholesome stuff, mostly cozy, wholesome stuff on her channel, and gives off a very calming atmosphere. It's very calming. It's very reassuring. Again, much like this channel. And she is also a good sport because she takes good-natured ribbing about some of the lace and doily stuff that she reads. But how wonderful is it? I mean, I don't think that even Gina could convince me that the misread books are worth revisiting. I read them once and they weren't for me. But how wonderful is it to see a Rosamund Pilcher fan on BookTube? Good Lord. If you don't get swept away by the shell seekers, then again, you're doing it wrong. So it is wonderful to sit and talk with her, even though I never have in person. So if you want that, definitely check it out. I will leave links to all of these channels. Then number 13 is Britta Bohler, of course, who's not only a wonderful, insightful channel about books, but also, according to the incels on Reddit, my lawfully wedded wife. And I've been watching Britta from the beginning. She was one of the channels that actually made me think that BookTube might be fun to do, because I, like everybody else, was bombarded with endless bourbon binging 30-somethings screaming and pinwheeling on camera about books written for children, to the point where I thought, well, maybe that's all there is. But then, among other channels, I found Britta's where this adult is talking about books in adult ways, in nuanced ways. And that's when I started to think, maybe I could do this too? I don't know. She doesn't seem like she's using a lot of high-tech stuff. Maybe I could do this too. If you don't know her channel, I can't believe there's anyone who watches me that doesn't watch her, but if you don't know her channel, you should. Okay? And I feel like I owe her a shout-out, considering how much she suffers on Voxer from my endless streams of Trump rants. Then number 14 is Katie at Books and Things, which is, again, another BookTube channel I was watching long before I had a BookTube channel. Our number one Dickens fan, who for years and years was talking about, reading these great old Gothic novels and all sorts of Dickensian stuff, and then finally wrote her own book. And it's The Secrets of Hartwood Hall. And we got to see one of our own become an author. And you go to, the various review aggregate sites, or Goodreads or Amazon, and you will see we're not the only ones that liked her book. It's not just carryover from the goodwill that she has on BookTube. She's also good at what she does. That is wonderful. And also, I might add, her channel is always wonderful. It's always so energetic and insightful about all the stuff she's bringing up. But I might add also that it's a pleasure that it's still there. There are plenty of booktubers, I think, who are in this in order to grift their way to a publishing deal. And once they get that deal, they're gone. You never hear from them again. I never actually suspected that would be true in this case, but I don't know. I wondered if maybe it would be too busy. But no, videos have continued, so that's wonderful. And then we get to number 15. Of course, these choices are not ranked, but I had to end with this one, which is, of course, Olive at A Book Olive, who was also a channel that I watched for a long time, and that solidified in my mind things that could and could not happen on BookTube. Olive is an amazing amalgamation of the styles that I've been talking about. Her videos are carefully done. She is a bit of a perfectionist. Her videos are carefully done, but they are completely genuine. She manages to do both those things together in a way that isn't given to many booktubers to do. I think more could if they wanted to, but Olive does it perfectly, just perfectly. And also, in the years that we have known each other, we have met. She has come over for wine and calzones many times, and also she has entered the critical book world. She has entered my world. She's entered the world of book reviewing for a deadline, for an editor, for pay. Peanuts, but pay. And that is wonderful. That has been a wonderful growth of that sort of thing. I'm not going to soil this list by going all Jewish grandmother and saying that she really owes me a visit. I'm not going to do that. I'm above that. I'll just say, if you don't watch her channel, there's a reason why she has a gazillion followers. That's why. There's a reason why. So I'm going to leave a link to Randy Ray's channel and his video, because a lot of the people that he named are people I would name as well. I didn't name them because he did. These are more people. If you don't watch these people, you should. Even Jack Edwards. I'm going to wrap this. I couldn't do this without a response, so I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.